Hello everybody and welcome to the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 Championship EU version. It's Season 3 and we're only 3 races from the end. It's the final time as well. We'll be taking a trip around Europe. We've travelled to Germany to the Nurburgring GP circuit for the last European race of this season, with 2 trips to Sebring and Daytona coming up for the final couple of rounds. It is time to visit this 5-kilometre circuit. We're not heading into the Eiffel Mountains here today. We're staying within the boundaries of the GP circuit, but it is still going to be exciting, we hope, heading forward throughout this race. My name's Ian O'Leary. I'm alongside Zach Sweeney here for tonight. And Zach, we are not going along the North Side. I think everybody's going to be pretty glad about that. However, this is still a challenging circuit, and hopefully it's going to be an entertaining one for us to watch these 2 races.
It's a good circuit. It's one that does open the door for some good overtaking opportunities. Of course, down and towards turn 1, that should be quite noticeable and quite notable. And yeah, it should be a really, really good race. Looking forward to it. Of course, we're already at round 8, so time really has flown. This is the third to last round that we have got in this 10-round season. So really looking forward to it. Of course, it has been heating up in the pro standings. It seemed that Urenga was dominant, but Campbell's sort of been on a resurgence the last couple of rounds.
He has, again, well, we say this, but this is actually unchanged since the last round, because they both took their drop round last time. They both had a difficult round at Monza, so it's still 18 points. The gap to the rest is only getting bigger, though. More than 100 points adrift now for the likes of Thomas Cope, Stuart Reynolds, Jonas Dreyer, Harry Wills, all fighting over third place. That's going to be an interesting fight. And this AM Championship fight is about to get interesting as well, because while there's only 5 points between Dean Timms and Jeremy De Boyver, we have heard earlier that De Boyver won't be able to attend here today. So we already know that he is going to have 51 points added to his score. However, with a possible 90 able to be scored by Dean Timms, he could make some big step forward in the championship here today with this result, because the gap to the rest is obvious at this point. 31 points to the likes of Ivo Linden and Timothy van der Broek. This is a chance that Dean Timms can't really miss.
He has to capitalise on it and make sure he's there to score the points. He does do quite well, of course, across both races, but last time at Monza wasn't the best opportunity for him to capitalise. He didn't have the best of luck, but today he needs to bounce back and really maximise those opportunities. It was a really close fight. We had the likes of Ivo Linden and Timothy van der Broek in the mix up until last time out at Monza, but of course since then they've managed to break away, so it has turned into sort of a 2-horse race, but only time will tell. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, indeed, this is the order heading in towards this race. Alex Urenga and Albin Scherber going to be on the front row, together with Thomas Cope and Sean Campbell behind. Stuart Reynolds will round out the top 5, with Thomas Wright 6th, Harry Wills down in 7th alongside the Ford of Ethan Bass. Thomas Dandridge will be 9th ahead of Felix Pearl, running up the top 10. It's going to be Chris Chadton and Jonas Dreyer rounding out the pro drivers. Timothy van der Broek will be first alongside John Williams, Stefan Schuster rounding out the top 3. That will be Ivo Linden and Vladimir Halibai in that 5th place. Simon Dobb will be 6th ahead of David Camano and Timo McKeown. Dido Vlamink and Victor Chamorro will be rounding up the top 10. Then it will be Thomas Pugh and Jasper Sharks. Then Janos Sastamoinen and Dean Timms all the way down in 14th in the AM standings. That's a big surprise for him. Dominic Goodsoe will be alongside Kerhau Jensen. James Slets will be alongside Gus Franken. And that will do it for the 30-car grid we have here for tonight's race. The other talking point, we're about to see, it's like the fast chicane being utilised tonight as opposed to the slower one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It sort of eliminates a potential overtaking spot because it is hard. It's very much single file through this sector, but it does add an extra challenge, and you've got to be committed, you've got to be brave, and when you're fighting for a championship, you don't know how brave to be. But yeah, Alex Renger on pole. He's got a very aggressive Kjellberg alongside, so this will be an interesting run towards T1.
It will. Albin Kjellberg has shown good pace so far in both practice and in qualifying as well, so we could well see a bit of a challenge to the championship leader. But let's see. Drivers making their way onto the front straight, and for the final time in Europe we're going to go for the sprint race here in the GT3 Championship. We're underway at the Nurburgring, and Alex Urenga has got a nice start. It's pretty much single file in behind really, with Kjellberg, Cope, Campbell all of them lining up, and they all defend to the inside line, looking to not lose any places rather than really gain any through this opening corner. Alex Urenga has done exactly that to hold on to the lead here. Kjellberg right on his tail. Thomas Cope third ahead of Sean Campbell, then Thomas Reiter and Harry Wills, who's made up a place here, and he's in the process of making up a place side by side with Stuart Reynolds. He's made his way through, down on the inside there, down at turn 3. They make their way out of the Mercedes arena, and it's a Lamborghini heading the field at the moment and being challenged by a Mercedes right now of Kjellberg. Urenga with a nice start, but he's not exactly put too much distance into the rest of the field as the AM guys also get underway right now. Timothy Vanderbroek has had a good start here. John Williams just in behind. To be fair, in most, or in both of the categories I should say, have stayed mostly the same, especially in the top 5 or so.
Absolutely, it's not something I was particularly expecting. It's a very wide run down in towards T1 here at the Nurburgring. So yeah, people just deciding to take an air of caution. They've got the rest of this race to make up those places, but for now it seems pretty close. You can see Cope having to defend from Sean Campbell in towards this last sort of sector, but it has remained close. They've not really made much ingrounds in terms of battles, but they've certainly remained close. Can Kjellberg get the run on Urenga down in towards the final couple of corners? You can see he's got the slipstream through this flat out right hand king. This is Campbell on the back of Kobe. He's going to look to the left hand side, can't quite find the gap. Same to with Kjellberg, just unable to find the gap. And as we said, literally as they were put in towards the lights, you can't really fabricate a move down in towards that fast chicane.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You get the feeling that if it was the slow one, there would have been an opportunity to go down the inside there, but that fast chicane is going to make life very tricky indeed. We're going to see here as well for Vladimir Halabai trying to regain 5th place from Simon Dodd. Pretty much the only change inside the top 5 actually as far as the AMs are concerned. David Kamano has made a good start here and he's applying the pressure to his fellow BMW as well. Just looking back from Halabai's car at the moment, Kamano really very close to him. Coming out of that final corner now. Towards turn 1 there'll maybe be a chance, as there is for Sean Campbell down the inside of Thomas Cope. That's into turn 3. He's not going to be able to do it around there. He's going to have to wait for another moment. This is exactly the problem with the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. Even if you are that little bit faster than the driver in front, there are limited places to get through.
There is, and he seems to be struggling. Of course, he's got Reiter on his tail as well, so he needs to make quick work of Kopa. He might actually find himself into the clutches of the Audi just in behind him. So yeah, it's going to be a game of chess as to when you go for those moves, how you go for those moves, and how you sort of portray yourself throughout this race. But for now, still Urenga and Kjellberg are pretty close in their 2-horse race towards the front. But yeah, for Campbell in his sort of championship, he wants to get onto the back of his RSR teammate and try and claw some points back.
He will want to, or at least limit the damage here. Kjellberg is having a very good start to this race. I know it's only the opening couple of laps right now. However, he's applying pressure to Alex Urenga like he's almost never seen so far in this season, as Stuart Reynolds is just going backwards here. Started inside the top 5, top 6 or so. Now down outside the top 10 with Chris Chatterton through on him. Felix Pearl just gaining a little bit right now as well. So yeah, it's the same for Stuart Reynolds so far here. Unlucky start at the moment as Alex Urenga completes a 2nd lap in the lead of the field right now. Let's not forget, in the sprint race here there will be no pit stop through this 25 minutes, but we will be seeing one a little bit later on throughout race 2 as Jonas Dreyer gets inside the top 8 that you can see in the background there, with Ethan Bass just being displaced. However, he'll want to get straight back down the inside again into turn number 1. I think he's going to be able to on this occasion, and that Ford is going to continue its slide down the back end of the field. Stuart Reynolds down the inside into turn 1, as well as we were speaking about Timothy Vanderbroek before this race, and a little bit how he needs to gain points on the likes of Dean Timms, who needs to take advantage of a day like today. Well, at the moment Vanderbroek is doing exactly what he did at Monza, which is of course win race 1 with relative ease, and at the moment he has got a bit of a gap.
Yeah, he's building it up and just being consistent. A bit of a awkward situation down here with the sort of the midfield towards the back end of the Dean Timms, though, trying to make amends for a poor qualifying. You can see Halliday going in deep down in towards what is turn 3, unable to make any moves on Pugh in front, but does succeed in keeping Dean Timms behind, at least for the time being. But you can see Dean Timms is certainly getting frustrated, especially in his championship charge. He's going to want to get forward, and we were saying how he has to capitalise on a round like this, and he's not off to the best of starts.
No, he isn't. I mean, he didn't qualify very well. Not sure if he was just not allowed to, or whether he just qualified poorly, or what happened to Dean Timms. However, It's not an ideal start for him at all, as Albin Kjellberg tries to get that run off of turn 12 that you need to have it going to the chicane, but it's so difficult to do so when it's such a quick chicane. So yeah, staying behind for the moment as side by side between Simon Dodd and Ivo Linden, excuse me, Stefan Schuster and Ivo Linden, I should say. Linden trying to make his way through after also having a little bit of a disappointing round at Monza as well, falling behind a little bit with regards to the championship, losing a good 20 points or so. As now Sean Campbell has found his opportunity, maybe to go down the inside in towards turn number 1. Thomas Cope stuck up on the outside, and so he's not going to be able to hang it around there. And Sean Campbell will be into the top 3. And this is all good news. I suppose the presence of Albin Kjellberg is good news as well for Sean Campbell here, because it means that Alex Urenga is not getting up the road and away from him. There's still a chance that Campbell can beat Urenga in this race, and he really does need to in the context of this championship.
Usually with Alex Urenga, you give him a clear track, he's going to take that opportunity and just run away with things. He's so consistent and so quick, but at least for the opening stages of this first race, Kjellberg has really given him a run for his money, and as you quite rightly say to Campbell, that's going to be a saving grace, and if they start to battle, that's even more so of a blessing, as he can try and close the 1.8 second gap that he was forced to let open, being stuck behind Copers. Yeah, he's going to try and close the gap as best he can, and we'll just be hoping that Kjellberg can try and put some pressure onto his teammates sooner rather than later. Of course, he is behind them, so for the reverse grid race could actually benefit for that. More points available for that race, so maybe he might want to take the hit here in race 1 and just try and capitalise even more so in race 2.
Absolutely, but I mean losing at 1 or 2 positions or gaining 1 or 2 positions is not that much in terms of points gained, so they'll have to do the weighing up there, as Dean Timms is still stuck behind Vladimir Halby at the moment, with Thomas Pugh just in this battle as well. As Kjellberg does now make his way down the inside. Think that, oh, it's into the chicane, my goodness. And he goes off the road. Alex Urenga very nearly did as well. They're both off the road, and they're both slowing down into the final corner. They've both got a slow down by the looks of things. Kjellberg seizes his opportunity, and he's going to try and go for this, as Sean Campbell's going to be in here as well. This has all got very, very crowded at the front of the field now, due to that very weird incident through the chicane. They both slowed down, and now they're going to be at each other's throats into turn number 1. Here goes Albin Kjellberg. It's very wide from Alex Urenga, who just gives him that one, really. And the Mercedes does now take the lead, but that was very, very controversial, possibly into the final chicane, with Kjellberg and Urenga both ending up off the road.
It's always going to be tricky into the chicane. You can see Kjellberg has got his nose ahead going in, but on that inside run, you're always going to be able to claim the track. He just goes in a bit deep, tries to concede the place, as Urenga just goes in a little bit too deep as well, and it was just an awkward situation between the pair of them. But Kjellberg managed to get the job done. Here's Simon Dodd in the Ferrari, unfortunately having an off. This is on the exit of T1. Going to take a look at how this one came about. It is a very tricky braking zone, of course, down towards turn 1. You're coming in downhill at very high speeds. I think he just lost the car a little bit, maybe ran a bit wide on his braking, and as soon as that car goes, especially at those high speeds, as I say, yeah, you're just pretty much a sitting passenger going straight to the barrier.
And that was Stefan Schuster there in the Audi, who very nearly got cleaned out into turn number 1 there. So that could have been an awful lot worse for him, but thankfully he avoided everyone there, did Simon Dodd, and everybody moves up a place pretty much in the AM category. As we go back to riding on board with Albin Kjellberg here, nearly 10 minutes into this one now, 5 laps in, and he's managed to finally wrestle that race lead away from the championship leader Alex Urenga. However, it is not all done just yet. Sean Campbell is right there, Thomas Cope not too far away, although you get the feeling that these three are going to be able to just get away ever so slightly here over the next few moments, especially with the likes of Thomas Reiter as well, as Dean Timms is still very much stuck in traffic. And it's not only a case of being stuck in traffic, I think he is just lacking the pace at the moment. We know that he is using, I think he said he's using his spare pedals here today. He's certainly using different pedals. I don't know if he just decided to get new ones or whether he's been forced to revert back to spare ones, because I've forgotten. However, he's certainly on the different equipment today, and that is clearly affecting him pretty majorly right now, although he might gain 2 places here. That's hard by right off the road. And I'm surprised that he's not going to slow down. He has done. He'll have to go to the outside line. Thomas Pugh there fearing for his life a little bit as well. But Dean Timms very much stuck in traffic here.
even with that, he wasn't able to find a way through. This is Stuart Reynolds versus Ethan Bass through the Mercedes Arena section, just through T4 now, and Ethan Bass has to concede, and Stuart Reynolds trying to make up for a poor start. But yeah, talking about Dean Timms, he is just, unfortunately for him, lacking the pace. Wasn't quite there in qualifying, and equipment does have a say in that, as he's now trying to make some progress, trying to push forward and get himself ahead of at least this gaggle of cars in front, but still unable to do so. And that equipment is that unfamiliarity. You've got to be used to the thing you're driving, have that confidence and that trust and the consistency as well, and he just hasn't got that confidence, especially, you know, under brakes, the feeling under traction and things like that. He just won't have, and it does take a while to adapt between that equipment. And unfortunately for Dean Timms, that adaptability hasn't come quick enough for him, and he's really struggling, at least in race 1. So for him now, I'm going to say this is more just an extra practice session more than anything, and he's going to have to try and bounce back in race 2.
We are hearing that his main set of pedals broken, so he's on backups here today. So that does also suggest to me not only that they are unfamiliar to him, as you were just mentioning there, but also possibly inferior as well in their actual in their actual makeup. And so I mean, it will make very little difference, but it may make a couple of attempts here or there, as we see the big defence now from Albin Sjöberg once again. He's not been able to get away from Alex Urenga, and he's not been able to get away from his teammate Sean Campbell either. So this is all getting very difficult now. We're about to complete lap 7 at the end of this one, and then we'll be halfway here in this race. And he's going to have a lot of defending to do, because you can tell he's just looking in his mirrors nervously at the moment. Those two cars right in behind are going to give him a hard time right to the line by the looks of things.
That is certainly looking to be the turnout of this race. Vandenbroek, though, is absolutely flying out in front of the AMS. Of course, John Williams has kept him on, has kept that gap around about 1 second. So yeah, it could be close if Vandenbroek makes the mistake. But for now, keeping Williams sort of that arm's length and limiting the pressure being put on as Reiter gets past Cope, who's actually had an off through the sequence of corners here. It's pulled back onto the circuit. That was very, very dodgy. We'll take a look as to what happened. Just going in a bit too quick, carried too much speed in, and then the car just looped round on him, and unfortunately for him, that's cost him a couple of places.
Yeah, should have really reversed there and joined at a better angle than that, and not straight in front of somebody either. But yeah, that was Jonas Dreyer, I think it might have been. But Simon Dodd's been off the road again, I'm afraid, in the Mercedes Arena. You can be sure there's a bit of damage on that car now. After the contact down at turn 1 a couple of laps ago, he's already struggling on the way out of turn 2. And then it's only going to get more tricky into 3. There it is. Simon Dodd really struggling, I'm afraid. Regularly comes to speak to us after race 1, but I don't know if he will after this. Seems to be struggling with a little bit of damage, but he'll be one to watch throughout the second race for sure. It was indeed Jonas Dreyer who had to slalom around Thomas Cope a little bit, and Stuart Reynolds is now going to give him a hard time, as off the road for Harry Wills there, just ever so slightly. He's been somewhat uncharacteristically quiet so far, actually. Top 5 for the moment for him, but this is just a small bit of a mistake. That's onto the grass on the way into the final chicane, and that is going to give him a slowdown, even though there wasn't really any gain there.
I mean, in all fairness to him, good car control to keep that point in the right way, and that could have very easily ended a lot worse than it did. A slowdown probably is going to be the best scenario out of that. This is Chamorro having to hold back, I think. McEwen will try to get past McEwen. In fact, that Mercedes in front of him, very close, locked in this fight for P7. He's got the likes of Herbaby and Pugh, and I think Dean Timms just at the back of this train as well. So it's a long one, and McEwen is doing a great job of keeping them all of them behind. Is that attributed to this track not having many overtaking opportunities around the circuit? As we can see, you know, we're getting these trains starting to form of just 2, 3, even 4 cars up and down the field, and it is just, you know, the lead car has just got quite an easy job of keeping them behind. Just put the car in the middle of the circuit, and it seems to just work, because there's nowhere really where the chasing car can try and squeeze a gap open.
It's a very difficult place to overtake around here at the Nurburgring, and so that is being really displayed for us right now. Even though Sjöberg did manage it, it's still tricky, and going to be very hard now for Urenga and Campbell to do it, because of the straight line speed advantage that may be in that Mercedes, especially if Sjöberg has taken on a little bit less in terms of aerodynamics. And he'll be especially quick, and he'll be very difficult to get near down these straights, and it does look like that. Even though I know it wasn't a dream exit from Alex Urenga there, he still didn't get a bad exit. And he's not really gaining anything, despite the slipstream that we're seeing right now. Into the final chicane, he is slightly stronger through here. The gaps, the gains and losses are very, very minimal. with just a good exit off of the final corner. Kjellberg can almost do his entire defending for the lap on one straight here. Just weaves a little bit to break the slipstream. You can see there that the Lamborghinis, despite having full slipstream from that fairly large Mercedes just in front, there's just no way they can even really get near it into turn number one, and it's going to be a very long and difficult final 10 minutes now for Urenga and Campbell. I can't really see a way where they get through here.
Going to be tricky as this is Dean Timms finally getting himself inside the top 10 into the fast chicane towards the final corner, but yeah, for Urenga and Campbell, it's going to be difficult to force the move. They just have to sit there in the rearview mirror of Albin Kjellberg and just, you know, wait for a similar mistake that allowed Kjellberg through, and then to be able to pounce on that and make their way through. But they are working well together as a pair. That's often what we've seen from the RSR teammates. You know, they just sit together, they work well, and then they pounce on any opportunity that they can. This is Jonas Dreyer. He's got Thomas Cope, who nearly smacked into the side of him just a couple of laps ago. He's got in for company for P7. Here's Harry Wills having yet another off, still maintaining P5, but yeah, Harry Wills once again showing that good pace, but not quite the consistency, and oh my word, once again taking a pretty long trip across the grass actually.
It was a very long trip around the grass, and Thomas Dandridge is going to be right onto him now. Through the Schumacher S, as Urenga's also doing the same. You can just see the way the intensity being turned up on this race just ever so slightly as everybody starts to push the limits a little bit more, especially noticed it in that front group through turn 11 here. That left-hander you just saw in the background. Intensity just going up at this stage of the race, and it is back here as well with Thomas Cope trying to regain some of these places on Jonas Dreyer, who he fell behind. We'll see if there's going to be a move into this final chicane, or at least is he going to try and put Dreyer off into here, have it go into the final corner or into turn one. Well, Dreyer's actually coped with it really well. And Thomas Cope has been left behind a little bit, even left him to the clutch of Stuart Reynolds now, who might have a go of his own in the slipstream. I think he's going to be close enough for a dive, really. You do have to be so close around the circuit to have a chance, and I don't think that Stuart Reynolds has quite had that. Also, looks like Thomas Cope has that little bit extra in terms of straight line speed, and that might be just hitting him on slightly right now. Just down the inside, that's brave and deep under brakes from Didier Vlamink. Kamano saw that one coming and went straight back through again, but that's the kind of thing that can happen when you set your moves up through the final chicane.
Yeah, absolutely. He went in a bit too deep. Still going to run side by side and might actually have a good run to the outside of T1 if he can be brave on the brakes in the Porsche. Has he got the bravery? As you can see, Kamano to the inside, just going to be taking the shorter route, and it's such a much shorter route that Vlamink is just left on the outside, hung out to dry, and has to concede that place. This is Dandridge on the back of Harry Wills, managed to close up the gap after a couple of mistakes. There's also the pack with Jonas Dreyer, Thomas Cope, and Stuart Reynolds down to P9. So this could very easily turn into a five-car train here for the top five, especially if Harry Wills can keep Thomas Dandridge behind, which, yeah, with the theme of this race, isn't going to be too difficult to do.
No, you would say so. Yeah, it's going to be in his favour. See, when you're in the same car like this, it's difficult to see any big setup differences between the two. It would be pretty unique to see that anyway. Maybe there is a chance, because of course there is the race win up for grabs as well. Sean Campbell will not want to let his teammate just have this one as well. He's leading the US standings and looking pretty good in those. However, he will want to maybe get a bit closer to his teammate. Not even following them though down the straight there. Kjellberg now feeling a little bit threatened down here into turn one. Is there going to be a move from Alex Urenga? Oh, well, no, he doesn't even have a look here. Deep under brakes from Kjellberg, and now including this one. I think 4 laps to go here at this stage. 4 laps to go for everybody, and 4 laps for Kjellberg to try and hold these guys back. But you get the feeling with every lap that Urenga is just heaping a bit more pressure onto this Mercedes, and maybe the mistake is coming. Maybe. Here's Thomas Dandridge to the inside of Harry Wills, going through in towards turn 3. Does get that move sealed. Harry Wills doesn't really have an answer to that one as they go through the next right-hander. He's lost a little bit of time, falling into the clutches now, more of Jonas Dreyer and Thomas Cope than trying to relaunch the offensive on Dandridge in front. So, yeah, overtaking proven to be a difficulty, but you just have to be clever with it. You have to set it up at different points in the circuit, maybe bet your rival in deep here and there, places
places that you might not conventionally go for an overtake might actually catch them by surprise. Who knows? You just have to try something different and take any opportunity that you can, capitalize on mistakes, because that's another thing, is that this track also does open itself up for quite a few mistakes, so you have to limit your own and then be able to pounce on others.
You do. I mean, it's the most reliable way of getting through anywhere, but especially here. So we go back to this group now with Dandridge in it, but I think he's going to remove himself from it pretty soon, and it's going to be Harry Wills against the world again, just trying to defend everybody, every position he's gotten from everybody as well. Just in behind us, Kjellberg goes off from the lead of the race. Oh, Urenga down his inside, and Sean Campbell might try and follow through as well. The mistake was coming. Urenga knew it, and he waited for it and pounced when it came as well. Now he's going to have a job in his hands to defend, because even with that exit, the Mercedes is stronger in a straight line here and might decide to go straight back down the inside. He brakes super late. You can see how much later he was on the brakes with that onboard shot there, but Kjellberg has had to give up the race lead here with 3 laps to go, including this one. There is time for him to get that back, but he's got to stay close enough. Here's the mistake. It's too deep into the chicane and it's way wide on the exit.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a clumsy mistake for Kjellberg to then relinquish the race lead because of it, but he's going to be hungry and he's going to want to get that place back. But yeah, for Alex Urenga, that just goes to prove that patience is a virtue, and he's just been able to sit back and wait for that to come, and then straight away didn't get caught up in the mistake, didn't panic at all. Just said, awesome, sweet, I'm up into the race lead now, and I'll be on my way. But Kjellberg was straight back onto the offensive. You could see visibly just how much later he was on the brakes compared to the Lamborghini in front of him. Unfortunately for him as well, he's now sandwiched between the two RSR cars, and he didn't lose both places. He only lost the one, which means getting this race lead back isn't going to be as difficult as it could have been.
Well, you say that, but he is going to be getting pressure from Campbell from behind, so I'm not sure which would be easier. But certainly having to overtake one car instead of two is a little bit more appetising. In the final couple of moments, he's a little bit out of shape through 11 and 12 as well, and you get the feeling Urenga just ever so slightly more measured at this stage in the race. Kjellberg having to go over his limit indeed to try and stay with the RSR Lamborghini at the front of the race now. We're going to get 2 laps to go when we get to the line, and I feel like Urenga might be gone and up the road here soon. Oh, Campbell looked down the inside into the final corner as well. Nearly went for it there. Let's see if he will have a similar look down in towards turn number 1. It's going to be, well, fairly close, but not really close enough. Is Campbell. That straight line speed of the Mercedes is good enough for the moment, so I think Campbell is going to have to get brave into that final corner really, rather than waiting for turn 1. The Mercedes is just a bit too strong. Just a little bit, not quite to Campbell's liking. Here is Thomas Cope to the inside of Jonas Dreyer. Has he got the car stopped? Should be a fairly easy affair, but you can see that Cope is being fought around the outside. He now has to do the long way around through T2, which is a much longer corner, but you really can sweep the car through, and Jonas Dreyer has been tapped round, spun, and a slight bit of contact with himself and the Lamborghini has unfortunately sent him now to the tail end. To outside the top 10 now. He's down to P12, so yeah, a small thing. Was trying to hold that place, but yeah, I think Thomas Cope was maybe a bit too eager on the outside, or did Jonas Dreyer just Jonas, he was tugged up on the inside really. I think Thomas Cope just sort of squeezed him a bit too hard there on the inside. Difficult to know which way to call that, but I find myself finding it hard to blame Thomas Cope for that really, but it's hard to tell, as I said, so we'll wait and find out what the stewards make of that after the race anyway. As the battle for the top 3 positions, the podium places continue, and Sean Campbell is looking the most threatening. Alex Urenga doesn't really look under too much pressure here. Kjellberg just not quite with the pace of that Lamborghini. He does have, obviously, a little bit better straight line speed, but you need to be close enough to be able to use that, and at the moment that can't be said of the Mercedes in second place. Campbell stronger through the chicane again, and he looks ever so slightly up towards the inside of the final chicane again, the final corner I should say. However, he doesn't go for it once more, so will there be a final lap lunge maybe into the final corner, or will he wait for the final time into turn number 1? It will be the last lap now. Will it be Sean Campbell's moment? He's squeezed onto the tight line by Kjellberg, who's very much going to run out wide there. Sean Campbell going to run out wide as well, but he should have the place here. Round outside through turn 2, there's contact between them. Kjellberg just came up off the apex there. He realised his mistake, and he let Campbell have the position in the end. It was fair racing between the two, just an honest mistake really by Kjellberg to...
jump on that and get himself up in a second place, and he had to be brave, he had to be committed, and Kjellberg did not make it easy, but he was able to do so, and on the last lap was able to put just one place between himself and Alex Urenga. So it'll be potentially, if it stays as is for the remainder of this lap, yet another 1-2 for the RSR cars, and Alex Urenga has completely flown away. But has Kjellberg got something left in the tank? You have to say the answer to that question is no, because there's nowhere really realistically for him to get this move done.
Not really, and I don't think he's got the speed anyway here on the very final lap. He has a small look into turn 11 there, does Albin Kjellberg, but I don't think it's going to be enough. It's going to have to be third place, I'm afraid, for the Mercedes driver, but he will be one to watch in race 2, there's no doubt. A slight mistake from Campbell as they go towards the final chicane, but I don't think Kjellberg is going to be anywhere close enough here on this final lap, and nobody's close enough to Alex Urenga here once again, who's going to take another race victory here in this series. He's only not won race 1 in an event once here this season. This is now the 7th race 1 that he's won throughout this season. It's another victory here at the Nurburgring for Alex Urenga. It's an RSR 1-2 as well, with Sean Campbell coming home second. Albin Kjellberg not able to do much more than third place here with that result, as behind in the AMS, Timothy van der Broek has had things all his own way. It's not been particularly comfortable. John Williams has been pushing him all the way. However, it will be a victory, a much needed victory for Timothy van der Broek, because Dean Timms is quite a few positions down. We'll go back to him in a few moments time, but this is van der Broek coming over the line right now. He's going to win race 1 again, as he did last week at Monza. It's victory at the Nürburgring for Timothy van der Broek. John Williams will be second, and Ivo Linden with some very important points in third as well. But Dean Timms is down in 8th place. That's a big hit in his championship. This was a day where he was supposed to be gaining points. In the end, he's not really, and he's letting 2 others into the fight as well, with the likes of Jeremy de Boyver falling away. He's going to have new rivals in the form of Ivo Linden and Timothy van der Broek as well, if Dean Timms is not careful.
Yeah, again, it was a poor showing in race 1. He managed to limit the damage, though, from a poor qualifying, a poor start. He managed to get himself up into P8, which I guess is the best he really could have asked for, but yeah, no, he really does need to bounce back for race 2 and really maximise the points that he's going to be taking in that one, because with Van der Broek on form, same too with Linden up in P3, that gap can very quickly close, and now we're towards the closing stages of this championship. You've got to be on it. You've really got to be maximising every point that you can possibly get, because yeah, especially in the AM category, it can come down to the finest of margins. So yeah, Dean Timms, for the form that he's been on, yes, he's got some special circumstances with his pedals, but he needs to just get used to it a bit quick and really try and limit that damage.
He certainly does. Let's have a look at the race 1 results before we go any further. Everybody's just about across the line now, and all 30 cars that started this race actually did get to the end. Alex Urenga was first. He had a couple of seconds over Sean Campbell at the end. Albin Kjellberg loses that third place there on the last lap. He must have gotten a penalty on the final lap. Thomas Reiter rounding out the top 3 with Thomas Dandridge and Harry Wills just inside the top 5. Stuart Reynolds wasn't quite able to overtake Wills on the final couple of laps there. It was Chris Chanson. Felix Pearl not too far behind either in 8th. Ethan Bass gets another top 10 with Jonas Dreyer rounding out the top 10. Albin Kjellberg, after hitting what I believe was 17 incident points throughout that one, that's what you get for a drive-through here in race 1 in terms of incident points, so that might be what befell him. Thomas Cope down in 12th place. He'll be starting on pole for race 2, of course. Timothy van der Broek will be last in AM because he's just won race 1 here. John Williams and Ivo Linden join him on the podium, with Stefan Schuster and David Camano joining them in the top 5. Didier Vlaming at 6th place out of Thomas Pugh. Dean Timms rooted to 8th place here in that race, with Victor Chamorro and Kurt Hau Jensen rounding out the top 10. Gus Franken just outside. Vladimir Halabay dropped down a little bit throughout that race to finish 12th. Timo Bakir and Jarmo Sastamoinen were together as teammates in 13th and 14th. Simon Dodge with damage in 15th, with James Slates beating Dominic Goodsell and Jasper Charts to the line here in that race. So that was it 25 minutes, excuse me, around here at the Nurburgring. We were going to throw to a quick break. However, I've just seen Alex Uranga pop himself in the waiting room there, so we'll have a quick chat to him before we go any further, because he did win race 1 after all, and here he is now. Welcome to the broadcast booth, Alex. Good to have you here. Another race victory here in the World Series GT3 Championship. Another race 1 victory as well. You're able to hold off Alex Uranga. Dear me, you're able to hold off Sean Campbell and Albin Kjellberg, excuse me, to the line there. But you had to work very hard to get around the Mercedes. What was kind of the difficulties with overtaking around this circuit?
Well, I think this is just more of a Merc thing, because the Merc is just extremely quick down the straights and it's just very good on that corner exit. So it was very difficult keeping up with him. And especially around this track that has a lot of straights and a lot of corner exits. So it was definitely a challenge keeping up. And yeah, very unfortunate to have battled with him through section. Well, unfortunate, it was very tense because, well, we nearly went off the road. So I tried to let him by, but, well, we both went to the outside, so it didn't really work out.
Yeah, I mean, you've had plenty of experience of making your way through from the back of the field in race 2. You've done it on 6 out of the 7 occasions so far. What do you think it's going to be like here at the Nurburgring? Is Turn 1 posing you any concerns heading towards this second race?
I'll be definitely looking in my mirrors for Turn 1, but yeah, coming from the back, it's not going to be easy. Well, it's not with this back, but like, and around this track. Sorry, around this track. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. This is my very first interview, actually.
Right.
But it's as always, it's going to be a lot of chaos. So it's very difficult to get through like a lot of battles because people are going to be battling, and I will try. Obviously, I'm going to try to get past them, but it's not easy. Because for every single round I've had trouble with like getting held up, so that's definitely I'm definitely gonna be holding my breath for some part for a few moments. So
absolutely. I mean, we look forward to seeing you out there again. It's going to be an exciting race too. We wish you the best of luck with that, of course, Alex. Thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us, and congratulations on the victory. We'll let you get back and get ready for race 2.
Thank you. Good luck with commentating.
Thanks very much, Alex Uranga, victorious here in race 1. Where will he be at the end of race 2? We'll find out very shortly. That'll be it for the race 1 part of this broadcast. We'll be taking a quick break for the next few moments. When we return, the 50-minute reverse grid second race will be coming your way, so stay with us. We'll be back in a few moments. Reaching high.
London. Brooklyn. London. Brooklyn. Atlanta. London. Harlem. Brooklyn. Kingston. Atlanta. London. Harlem. Brooklyn. Kingston. Atlanta. London. Harlem. Brooklyn. Kingston. Atlanta. London. Harlem. Brooklyn. Kingston.
Welcome back to the Nurburgring, where we're readying ourselves for race 2 of the evening. 15 minutes further coming up here. We're just about reversing the grid as we speak, and we're getting ready for the second race of the evening. The first was indeed a very entertaining affair indeed, with Alex Urenga taking the victory. We'll be looking to see where he can get to in race 2 to maybe have a look at these championship standings and see if he can extend this championship lead any further. 21 points over his teammate Sean Campbell at the moment. As Thomas Cope's lead over Stuart Reynolds has been slashed to only 1 point. Harry Wills is only 8 points behind him as well. Jonas Dreyer only 12 points behind him. Zach, I mean, that battle for third place is just as exciting as the one for first in these standings at the moment.
Very, very close, and yeah, we saw, of course, Thomas Cope and Stuart Reynolds in the same train in race 1, and only separated by 1 point. They are really going to be going at it. Harry Wills in the mix. It's so very close amongst the midfield in the pro stand. I say midfield, it's over third place, so it is very close. But yeah, Alex Urenga and Sean Campbell. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because while they are teammates, they are championship rivals as well. So yeah, we'll just have to play the rest of the season by ear. Not really long left to go. What is it? 5 races left in this season, so yeah, only time will tell. And yeah, it's going to be particularly interesting, especially in these AM standings too, because Linden and Vanderbroek both made some ground up on Dean Timms in race 1.
They did indeed. However, I guess if you're looking at this as an overall, Dean Timms did technically extend his lead, I suppose, if you look in the gap from first to second. It's now 24 points. Eva Linden and Timothy Vanderbroek are very close together, and they're not that far in front of Jeremy De Boyver, who, let's not forget, will have 51 points added to his tally after this race. He won't have any safety net to fall back on at Sebring or Daytona, which may be at the back of his mind, but either way, he will still get 51 points added to his score at the end of tonight. At the moment, Dean Timms has only scored 28 points, which is barely just over half. You do get slightly more points for race 2 though, so that will be a bit of an encouragement to him. But I mean, when I was considering this earlier, I thought, Dean Timms is going to start to run away with these standings quite well now. However, I think De Boyver won't even be that far behind Dean Timms by the end of this race here, and we're still 2 rounds to go. There's every chance that anyone in that top 4 now can still go on to take this title.
Oh, for sure. It's really, really up in the air. No, nothing set in stone just of yet. And yeah, especially with Dean Timms is slightly off form today. It's really going to spice things up in that championship. And yeah, we're again, only time will tell in this very, very close championship that it has been boarding up for pretty much the whole season. It has been really these 4 drivers towards the front. It was a time towards the start of the season where we thought Ivo Linden was going to, run away with the championship with his form, but then started to drop off, close the gap back up, and it really just has been a constant up and down thing, constantly changing as we go track by track. And yeah, it's been really, really interesting to watch. So yeah, we'll just have to enjoy the final few races.
We will certainly enjoy them indeed. 5 races to go now in the standings. Just to update you a bit on the chatter that's been going on in between the races as well, because we can get some bit inside knowledge on what's been said in the Discord and so on and so forth. Can report that Victor Tomorrow and Timo Makio came into contact throughout that race, so watch out for those two. Maybe coming across each other once again. Stefan Schuster was obviously very pleased to see Simon Dodd fly past him rather than straight into him at turn 1. I'm sure you remember that incident early on in that race. And Ethan Bass, I guess the most notable thing from that really in terms of insider information, Ethan Bass actually filled his fuel up as if he was doing the 50-minute race, which is of course limited to 50%. So he had half a tank's worth of fuel, whereas he needed about 40%, I suppose. So that little bit of extra weight may have been holding him back ever so slightly. We'll see what the Ford GT can do over the 50-minute race here, but he's not got a bad starting position here, as we're about to see. The one we've really got to watch out for, though, is R.A.W.S on the front row with Thomas Cope. Neither of those drivers are slow whatsoever.
Not at all, and neither of them really want to back down from a fight. Kjellberg showed some great pace in race 1, fell back to P3 on the road, but something happened penalty-wise that saw him drop to the back. So yeah, he's going to be towards the sharp end. This is going to be a really, really good race to watch. I can't wait.
It certainly is. So, I find that grid difficult to believe. Is that correct? Tim, probably isn't. Timothy Vanderbroek apparently on the pole position there. I'm not expecting that to be the case. He probably should be last by all reckoning. I don't know. It's not showing us the pro standings either for some reason. So it looks like I'll just have to tell you about them. But because those AM standings are not the ones that I'm seeing at the moment either. In terms of the grid right now, because Jasper Sharks should be on the pole as far as I'm concerned. This is right though. We've got the pro standings now. Thomas Cope will be alongside Kjellberg, as we just commented on. Jonas Dreyer and Ethan Bass will be on the next row. Phoenix Burr will be 5th, ahead of Chris Chatterton. Stuart Reynolds will be one to watch from 7th, alongside Harry Wills, with Dandridge, Reiter, Campbell and Urenga rounding out the pro standings. All 12 drivers returning for the second race here. As I just mentioned, Jasper Sharks will be on the pole for the AMS, who will be ahead of Dominic Goodsell and James Slates. Simon Dobb will be one to watch from 4th, with the teammates of Sastamoinen and McKeown on the 3rd row together. Vladimir Halabai and Gus Franken will be on the next row, with Kurt Hau Jensen and Victor Tomorrow rounding out the top 10. Dean Timms outside the top 10 despite not a great first race. He'll be looking to move through the order. Thomas Pugh will be 12th position. He'll be ahead of the likes of David Camano, D-Day Vlamink, Ivo Linden, Stefan Schuster, John Williams and Timothy Vanderbroek, who will be rounding out your grid. Although I can report that Halabai from that 7th place will have to start from the pit lane if he will be starting at all here in the second race. We're about to get underway. 50 minutes of action here from the Nurburgring. It's an all-star front row with Thomas Cope and Albin Kjellberg, despite the reverse grid, finding themselves on the front. Thomas Cope, once again, it's a Lamborghini in control of the field. They make their way down towards turn 1. There's a little bit of itchy feet going on slightly in the background as everybody wants to get away. Kjellberg actually seemed to accelerate first there. He brakes before the line so that he doesn't break the rules. And Thomas Cope is going to be allowed to have the lead here into turn 1. Inside line for him, and surely he's not going to be displaced from here, as down the inside goes Jonas Dreyer, trying to take that place away from Ethan Bass on the inside line. The Ford GT finding itself very wide on the outside, and now down into 5th, with Chris Chatterton rounding out the top 5. They're all going to filter their way through the Mercedes arena for the first time, and Alex Urenga's already made up some places. As we go back to the AMS, Jasper Sharks with a nice start for him. He'll have a few columns indeed, ahead of Dominic Goodsell and James Slates, who fight their way through. Everybody looking like they made their way through the first corner without issues in the end. It's been 2 very clean starts, I have to say, in the EU Championship today.
He really has been. Everyone's been.
So
We say that.
too
Is that
soon.
Simon Dodd going around? I'm pretty sure, not entirely sure.
Yeah.
Dean Timms has been able to make up a couple of places, but Simon Dodd, that's rough after an unfortunate first race as well with a couple of spins. Finds himself towards the tail end. This is Ivo Linden to the inside of Kamano, I believe, through in towards now this infield section where you just have to be very, very careful. But Ivo Linden trying to make some quick work of the early stages while everyone's still bunched up because, yeah, Dean Timms has gotten off to a pretty good start. This is Harry Wills going slowly, so, yeah, not the best of starts for everyone.
Like a slowdown through the Schumacher S for Harry Wills, I'm afraid. So it's not been the great. Unfortunately, spoke too soon in the Mercedes arena there. It did look like somebody went around, as we see Kjellberg getting right into the back of Thomas Cope. He's learnt his lesson that maybe making a move through the farm chicane is not the wisest thing to do in the world, and so he's going to stay behind and wait for turn 1 again. And the Mercedes, as we heard from Alex Urenga through the intermission between race 1 and 2, is very strong. My goodness, look at this. Simon Dodd wasn't indeed the driver who went around there. He's making places and making a move into the top 3 now. This is absolute carnage, though, into the chicane. Let's hope that it doesn't end up like that, as Timo Makia makes his way down the inside of James Slates as well, who doesn't really know where to go. Dean Timms will be looking to make his way round the outside right now. It's been a great start from the championship leader, actually. Despite the lack of pace he's got today, he is making the best of a bad situation, trying to go around the outside into the top 5 as the two RSR guys make their way inside the top 10. Alex Urenga is into 7th already, Sean Campbell into 9th. Two pretty decent starts early on, you've got to say.
Yeah, it's been quite action-packed. A lot of drama to kick us off. A 50-minute race too. Simon Dodd now up to P2 as well as Goodsell leads. And just look at the carnage that's ensuing. I think a spin as well as Timo McEwen's had an off. Oh, who's that off? Is that's not Dean Timms going off? Is it in the 46 Mercedes? I'm not entirely sure. But Linden trying to negotiate his way through. There's just a massive gaggle of cars that they all have to find a gap through. But that is big drama, big news there for Dean Timms.
Huge news for Dean Timms, who has found himself around. Let's see what on earth happened here. Dean Timms, who's down the inside here of James Slates, with I think Sasta Moynihan just in behind, or is it Timo McKeown? Oh, it's one of them anyway, and straight into the side. Dean Timms then has to come to almost a complete standstill there to avoid it. Then they're nearly 4 wide off the corner. Timms is very much on the inside line. He has contact. Does he get? Yeah, he gets turned around. So is that? Yeah, that is Sasta Moynihan. Not Timo McKeown, but Sasta Moynihan initially went too deep under brakes into turn 1, made a mistake, and it all went wrong from there. Dean Timms is way down in 27th. Both Sasta Moynihan and McKeown, the teammates, down in the pit lane now, and don't look like they're going to be returning, as that was aggressive, too aggressive from Stuart Reynolds. Thomas Reiter pays the price, and Stuart Reynolds, I think, has realised his mistake immediately.
Yeah, I mean, understandably so. It's pretty clear-cut as to what happened. This is Alex Urenga on the back of Chris Chatterton to the inside of T1. Should be a fairly easy affair for the RSR Lamborghini up into 5th place now, I should say, and is really now starting to press on against the rest of the field and try and close that gap. This is the fight between Didier Vlamek and I believe James Slates over P5. He's also trying to close up onto Jasper Chuck, for P3. So it's a fight for the podium between these two side by side, actually, between our two race leaders, as Simon Dodd is going for the race lead to the inside of T1. Dominic Goodsell just has to tuck in behind. So what looked to be a spin for Simon Dodd, actually we got it completely sideways because, well, he's got himself up into the race lead.
He has indeed, and he might well try and carry this one right the way through here. We'll see if he can do, of course. It'll be very difficult to know. I really can't believe, by the way, earlier I said the words, it's been quite a clean start, because since then it has just been absolute madness, even. James Slates at the moment falling down through the field, as you'd expect, really, given where he finished in the first race and where he started in the second. He's got Timothy Vanderbroek right beside, or right behind, I should say, might well be beside him very soon. It's battle over 6th place, but it's especially damaging now for Dean Timms, who's way down in 27th overall. Not entirely sure where that is in the AM category. It's 15th, I think. So it's a long way down either way. A long way down, and even with this situation, Jeremy De Boyver will be right back in the championship hunt, and I know that he's watching right now. Timothy Vanderbroek might even be getting himself involved here as well. It's going to be a really big shake-up in the AM standings here today, as Albin Kjellberg looks to defend from Thomas Cope. He has got to the lead in the pros, which are comparatively with the AMs, pretty calm up here.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty sensible. Everyone's kept it nice and clean for the most part towards the sharp end of the pros. But yeah, Kjellberg just trying to keep Thomas Cope at bay. And yeah, well, it just goes to show the pace that Thomas Cope did have in that Lamborghini. This is Stuart Reynolds and just going up the inside of the Audi and towards T1. Got himself up into P11 and Thomas Reiter on his tail now trying to claim that place back. But yeah, it's pretty silly fighting for P11, especially this early on. The man, though, on a mission is Alex Urenga. Same too with Sean Campbell. His next target is Chris Chatterton, but I fear that he's probably going to get stuck behind the Audi in a pretty similar fashion that has been the theme for this evening.
It has. But let's see, as James Slates continues to lose places here. Stefan Schuster around the outside of turn 2 there in a nice move. He's through into 7th place. David Camano going to try and do the same. Victor Tomorrow as well, just tucked in behind. The two Spaniards are going to try and find their way through over the next few moments. And there's Dean Timms. Remains to be seen if there's been another incident here. It looks like there might well have been. Into turn 1. Is there a bit of a spin here for Dean? There is indeed. Well, it's a half spin more than anything. You will have lost a few seconds as a result. As we got, a big crash here with Vanderbroek as well. Timothy Vanderbroek off the road. James Slates is off here with John Williams and Timothy Vanderbroek. So he had an unprecedented opportunity to gain points here, and all of a sudden he's seeing it fall by the wayside. I think it's a solo spin by the looks of things, or did he get involved with someone else's spin? It's his own. Oh dear, and he slides back across the road right in front of James Slates, who has to take to the track to avoid. And he gets straight into the side of the oncoming traffic. What drama here for all of these drivers. I think it must have been John Williams who got straight into the side of there. Not a lot that James Slates could have done, unfortunately. It's very different to the incident we saw at that turn with Thomas Cope in race 1.
Yeah, big shame. A lot of big names have really fallen in this round, and yeah, that just again adds to the unpredictability of the championship. This is Jasper Tjarks going side by side with Thomas Pugh now off the final corner and trying to hang on to that P4, but you can see that Pugh just has the legs down the straight in that Lamborghini. Same too now Stefan Schuster, maybe going to make it 3 wide, or is he just going to follow Pugh on the inside? Schuster getting ahead of Tjarks and up into 5th place. So yeah, unfortunate for the Porsche driver, who has to now fall back to P6, and he's also got David Camano for company. So yeah, really falling backwards. Very easy to do so. Of course, overtaking is quite scarce. In this race so far. But if you're in a pack of cars, as soon as one driver goes through, they all seem to really do it all at once.
Oh dear me, that's very much being squeezed to the outside now by Schuster. Oh, it's close, and it's too close onto the grass for Jackson. He's gone around. Kamano's going to gain, and so's everybody here. Thomas Cope's been off in a similar way at turn 11 as well. As we've got, oh dear me, side by side, very nearly getting involved there. I think it was Peel and Dandridge maybe who were going side by side, but either way, Thomas Cope just gets up on that curb and spins around, and it's made everybody's life easier there in terms of not having to overtake him anymore.
That is, I mean, it gives Kjellberg a nice bit of breathing space back to Jonas Dreyer and Alex Urenga, about 4.5 seconds back at the moment. Can Urenga do anything on this lap compared to the Mercedes? You've seen how quick that Mercedes is down the straight. Has Urenga got any answer to it? The answer to that is no, unless he's incredibly brave on the brakes. He's going to have a look. What a send from Urenga to the inside for P2. Gets the job done, gets the car stopped on the apex, and now up into 2nd place. Clear air between himself and the Mercedes of Albin Kjellberg, and it's going to be a mission now to close that gap.
It certainly is. Harry Woods here in 7th place with an opportunity to really gain points on the likes of Thomas Cope and Stuart Reynolds, who are both down towards the back at the moment in the battle for 3rd place in the standings right now. They're going to be, I think, mathematically out of contention after this race in terms of the overall win is concerned. However, in terms of 3rd place, the battle will rage on between those drivers as Didier Vlaming sets the fastest lap of the race so far back in the AMS. But that's not an overall fastest lap of the race, of course. That has gone to Jonas Dreyer, I do believe, so far in this one, because he's... excuse me, not Jonas Dreyer. Who has he gone to? He's gone to Kjellberg, of course, because he's been in clean air. Of course he has. So he's out front at the moment. Simon Dodd is out front, though, in terms of the AM category, of course. Good, so doing him a bit of a favour, just holding back Didier Vlaming right now. Still just under 40 minutes, though, for him to hold on. And I think with Vlaming so close, it is going to be hard for him to take home this win. But he's going to try, of course. Why not?
Might as well give it a go. Just press on and see what happens. That's all really you can do. Do the best job that you can. Be consistent, and then whatever happens, you've done your best job. So that's clearly how it was meant to be. And then you come out with no excuses and no regrets. But yeah, Simon Dodd for now is hanging on pretty well in that Ferrari, trying to redeem himself after race 1, having a couple of spins. But at least for the opening stages of race 2, is hanging on pretty well. This is Ethan Bass. He's got Sean Campbell for company. That Ford GT has, for the most part in race 2, has become more of a mobile chicane. Of course, Ethan Bass probably has the right fuel load on this time. It's not going to stop Sean Campbell, though, pulling to the right-hand side. And Timothy van der Broek once more having an off, and that's Sharks as well having off. That's off the exit, I believe, of the Dunlop hairpin. And for them, it's yet another bit of misfortune.
Now, there's 3 cars involved, actually. Van der Broek right on the outside. Is he an innocent bystander in this? Well, yes, he is. Oh, dear me. So Sharks get spun around by one of the Mercedes just up in front. Think it could have been Victor Tomorrow. Spun him around, and it caught Van der Broek up in that one. So Dean Timms has actually gained a whole host of positions here now in the last few laps. He's up to 8th after all of that. There he is. He's still losing out on points to Linden. However, he's regaining, refinding himself just a little bit here. That is all good news for him, as Dominic Goodsell is doing a wonderful job of defending, although now Vlaming is properly down his inside and should be able to get through now. He's certainly got the pace to be able to do this, and now he's got the actual track position to show for it as well, as Thomas Pugh is going to try and follow through as well. Let's see, down the inside. Oh, it's late on the brakes, into 6th. Side by side between the two. Outside line at the Ford curve of 7, and he's going to be able to make his way through on his fellow Lamborghini. Now Stefan Schuster is going to try and go through as well. It's pretty demoralising at the moment for Dominic Goodsell, just getting overtaken by everybody, but this is the life that you live when you're further down towards the back at race 1 and then further towards the front through race 2, as some of the guys in Pro are experiencing right now as well. This is Chris Chatterton on the front of the little group into 4 position 6, I should say. Harry Wills, Felix Pearl and Thomas Dandridge right in behind as well. Pro guys still able to bring us a little bit of action as well, even though most of the drama so far has been down in the AMS.
Yeah, they've really put on a good show, at least so far. Can Harry Wills get the move done on the Audi of Chris Chatterton? He's going to have a look. Turn 1 really has been the hotspot for late breaking moves. Has he got it stopped, or is Chatterton going to go the long way around? Indeed he is, because Harry Wills a bit swamped on the inside. I think just bit too much of that curb and didn't quite get the run out, but Harry Wills going to go the long way round of 2 down the hill towards 3. Once more it's going to be the long way round, but if he can keep it there, it's the inside of 4. Is he going to be brave enough? Not quite, but he's going to keep his nose in. Chris Chatterton gives him a wide berth. They're still side by side, so close to contact now as they head still side by side. Payel has to just sit idle and can't find a way through. Harry Wills the long way round now. Has he got the inside in towards the Ford curve? Yes, he has, and up into P6. That was a lovely bit of racing.
Oh dear, and Wills a little bit up over the curb there. Chatterton might have been able to have another go at him there, but was not able to in the end, as it turned out. And so he's going to have to settle for 7th, and it might not be for that at this point. He might well lose out again here in this race, because he's not only got Felix Pearl behind, he's got Thomas Dandridge just in the Mercedes there. Just behind him is Stuart Reynolds. Then it is Thomas Reiter in that 11th place at the moment, and Thomas Cope will surely be gaining on all of these guys as a result of this as well. He set his personal best lap time on the previous lap, and so he most certainly is gaining on all of these drivers. I think Harry Wills is going to be very glad to have made that overtake, got up into 6th place and be able to get himself away from this group, because big trains like this are never too fun to be a part of when you're just trying to get your head down and get on with it.
I mean, they're fun, but they're dangerous, and for Harry Wills, he wants to just get on with his own race and not really have to worry about those behind. Who's that pulling into the pit lane? Is that Reiter, I think, towards the back end? So that is a very early pit stop, not one that we conventionally see this early on. So is that a scheduled stop, or is that him coming in for a bit of damage? But yeah, either way, that is very, very early indeed.
Oh yeah, and this is one of the most fuel-thirsty circuits on the calendar this season, with maybe exceptions given to the likes of Monza or Daytona, where you do need to use the slipstream or whatever to just save a bit throughout to really make your race a bit more comfortable. You can make it normally anyway, but you get the idea. see, it could be a strategy idea here. Just over 35 minutes, 11 seconds of a stop. That's a normal length of stop there for Thomas Reiter, so it does look like it's a bit of a strategic call. The only problem he's got now, though, is he's found himself behind 2 of the AM cars, and I think he's only just in front of Stefan Schuster. He's going to get some pressure from some of the AM drivers just in behind. Oh, there he is. He dives it into turn 1. Stefan Schuster doesn't want to have any of that, and so Thomas Reiter, anything that he's going to gain from the undercut here is being lost right now, and it's being lost immediately.
It is, yeah. He's been spat out right in the wrong part of the circuit, and yeah, that is so unlucky. Even if he just waited a lap or 2 later to come into the pit lane, he would have, bypassed this train. And yeah, well, while it can work, you do have to take that risk of coming out in a bit of traffic. He is going to go to the inside, get himself ahead, but it's going to be tricky, and he's actually being fought by the Audi on his outside, so really not going well for the 97 Audi of Thomas Reiter. He's going to be losing time and time because of this battle, and still he's unable to find a way through.
Yeah, and I mean, these cars, of course, they're all exactly the same in terms of they're all GT3 specification. The difference between the Pro and the AM is nothing in terms of the actual cars themselves. And towards the top end of the AMs could well sneak into the bottom end of the Pros on a good day. So when you find yourself out front with the AMs right now, it is quite difficult as a Pro driver to make your way through, and they don't have to jump out your way either. That's such a difficult place to overtake. It could well spell disaster, but it is losing him time here, Thomas Reiter. There's no doubt about that. And I think instead of jumping the entire group he was with, like he was intending to, he might well find himself off the back of it entirely. As he goes into the final chicane, he can see the pace difference here. It is obvious. However, it's difficult to make your way through. He looks to the inside into the final corner, and Stefan Schuster himself doesn't want to get involved in an incident, so all of these looks and all of this defending is just slowing everybody down. Now Schuster realises that it's better for me to get out of the way here. It was getting quite dangerous there, so he's gotten completely out of that now, and so he lets Thomas Reiter through. He's able to stay in front of David Camano as well, which I think he was a bit worried about earlier, and that's why he fought on so hard.
Probably so. I mean, yeah, overall, Thomas Reiter isn't at all in Stefan Schuster's race. They're in completely different categories, and you don't gain anything by holding on to the track position. But yeah, maybe letting him through could have seen him under threat from Kamani, but the risk of fighting with Reiter for virtually nothing was not worth it at all, considering how easy it could have gone so wrong, and it has done throughout the evening of racing so far. All it takes is a slight bit of contact, and you're off into the grass or the gravel, which, yeah, I'm sure Schuster wouldn't want at all, considering he's running a fairly admirable P4, and yeah, he's not doing a bad job at all. So it was definitely the wiser decision. This is the fight though between Dandridge, Reynolds and Chatterton, all for P7, and still we're seeing these break-offs into 2 or 3 cars, and it's really spicing up the action for certain positions up and down the grid.
It is. It's nice little groups forming around. There's just over half an hour to go in this race now. And this is really where we normally see pit stops happening. Thomas Reiter just saying to hell with that a little bit and wanting to go a little bit early, as he has done. The Pro guys very much having a little bit of a calmer race than maybe we're seeing a little bit further down. Where are the championship contenders? So Dean Timms has found himself in 8th place. He's now on the back of Dominic Goodsell, who's still falling down through the field and may well get overtaken by the championship leader very soon. Timothy Vanderbroek now is down in 12th place and will be losing points just ever so slightly to Dean Timms over the course of this race. Very possibly 30 points behind coming into this. He wants to gain, but it looks like he may well end up losing out ever so slightly as things stand. Dean Timms, by the way, will be at least scoring 59 points here today. Because of his drop round. That's his best, or that's his worst score so far, so it can't get worse than that for him, at least in this race. 28 points so far. With the 32 he'd currently gain, he'd be on 60, so this would just about count for him. And Timothy Vanderbroek will once again see a bigger gap opening between them. However, Ivo Linden is closing in on the both of them here. Linden at the moment 24 points behind him, would be just taking a few more points in those AM standings as well. And there is Ivo Linden. Oh, and he's going to gain some more there because David Camano's just gone off at the fork curve. Okay, he just went a bit too wide into the gravel there, and everybody gains a place. So Dean Timms is up to 6th place as well. Here it is.
what happened just over the gravel and lost the car, tapped the barrier, not too hefty but enough to lose him a bit of time, and of course knock his confidence as well. But yeah, Eva London's not going to be complaining at all. Sean Campbell on the back of Jonas Dreyer on this run down towards T1. We saw a previous Lamborghini absolutely send one to the inside. Campbell's going to do something similar, get himself onto the podium, up the inside, fairly textbook and fairly simple as well. Jonas Dreyer didn't put up much of a fight to both the RSR cars and getting a bit of a twitch on by himself. I think he knows they're not really his race, and he's just trying to hang on to the best position he can, and by fighting hard he's risking compromising what would be a pretty decent P4 finish for him.
It would be. I mean, it'd be a great help to him in the battle for third in the standings, and I think it would be unrealistic for him to expect to beat any of the three just up in front at the moment, because they're all very strong drivers, of course. As Alex Uranga just gains a little bit of time on Albin Sjöberg lap by lap. They pretty much match each other last lap. The gap just about 4 seconds. So I do think Sjöberg has the measure of Alex Uranga just for the moment. But as the race went on in race 1, he did start to struggle more and more, did Uranga. Did Sjöberg. So maybe the championship leader will just be hoping that happens again. Either way, if things were to end as they are now, it would still be a good day for Uranga, of course, and he would extend his championship lead to 25 points with just 2 rounds to go. We did have an update earlier, by the way, from the admins about the drop weeks and whether they would count for the final round. Well, they do indeed, and that would mean that Uranga would put himself in a very strong place to possibly clinch the round early. However, he's been off the road through the final chicane, and surprisingly, he doesn't decide to cut his losses and go straight in the pit lane. What on earth happened here? Just a simple mistake. Got onto the grass, spins wildly into the final chicane and loses out on 2 places.
Alex Uranga, he seemed bulletproof for the first half of the season, but now we're seeing these mistakes start to creep in. It was the most marginal thing going into that final chicane. Literally was millimeters onto the grass, but when you're going that quickly and it's just like, you know, you're hardly on the brakes, you're carrying so much speed through that chicane, it doesn't take much to unsettle the car, and unfortunately for him, he's fallen backwards, but he is still on the back of Jonas Dreyer and Sean Campbell for P2, so you know, not all is lost, not all hope is lost for Alex Uranga. He can still recover, but what it does mean is a big load of pressure off of Albin Sjöberg's shoulders.
It is, and I think he is going to very much revel in that and go to the line with this now, quite possibly. But let's wait and see. 3-car battle now for second is going to be very interesting. See how hard Sean Campbell fights this one, because he's not exactly shaken off Jonas Dreyer just yet. He's going to want to hold back his teammate as well. Got to think about the pit stops though as well. We're nearly halfway into this one. Is Alex Uranga maybe going to... I'm really surprised he didn't actually come in there just to cut his losses a little bit and just make his way into the pit lane anyway. But either way, he wants to do this the hard way. I wonder if we are going to see a pit stop from one of these 3 though, just to maybe get an undercut on one of the others.
Would make sense. I mean, yeah, it is surprising for Alex Uranga. You might as well just take it there and then then just get it over and done with. But no, he's carried on, and I mean, actually, if he probably just carried on, took the pit lane and had some clear air, he might have actually jumped these 2 after the pit lane sequence. But he's got to do all the hard work now on track. But yeah, we're approaching halfway through this race, and none of our front, I don't think our front, anyone really inside the top 10 in Pro have actually come in for a scheduled stop. So still waiting for those to peel their way into the pit lane. Alex Uranga still trying to put some pressure on Jonas Dreyer, but now we're sort of into this stage in the race where everyone's settled in. It's everyone's into a rhythm. You can't exactly just send one down the inside like you could on lap 1, which is typically where Uranga makes up most of his places. Now he's got a really tough job of actually finding a way through, and Jonas Dreyer isn't, making it particularly easy like he was on the last time round for Uranga.
It's not becoming that easy for him, unfortunately. However, it's I didn't expect it to be. Just hitting the halfway mark now in this race. Still 25 minutes to go. Sjöberg looking good in the lead of this one, but behind is where the battling is and where the intrigue is really between these 3. There is Albin Sjöberg. Very much got this one under his control for now. Sean Campbell has second place under his control right now as well. However, not fully, you would say. Jonas Dreyer and Alex Uranga are very close indeed, but once again, I think Uranga is going to run into the problem that he spoke about in the intermission about the Mercedes being very strong rather than it being a Nurburgring thing, or of a Mercedes thing, that they're just very difficult to overtake. And there's no reason to expect it would be any different with Jonas Dreyer instead of Albin Shelberg in front.
Very true. I mean, it doesn't matter who your opponent is. If the car is strong, the car is strong. But yeah, it has proven to be quite difficult. Maybe Urenga's going to do a similar move that he did the first time around on Jonas Dreyer, which is just send it to the inside of T1. But he has got his teammate to be mindful of. He can't exactly just send one to the inside and hope it gets stopped, because if that does go slightly wrong, he's into the side of his teammate, which is, I'm sure, not the outcome that Urenga would have wanted. But still, even despite that mistake, you could see him getting perilously close to the outskirts of the circuit going into that final chicane. So yeah, that just goes to show the driver that Alex Urenga is. Doesn't matter what happens to him, he is not knocked at all and is never afraid to push the limits. He's always willing to take that risk, as Harry Wills actually gets past Ethan Bass for P5 just a little bit further back too.
So there's a bit of lap traffic coming up here as well, but Alex Urenga not going to wait to use that. He's going to go straight down the inside of Jonas Dreyer. Oh, contact made, and Dreyer goes around. Well, that's going to be a controversial one now. Oh, as Dreyer quickly gets out the way of Harry Wills and Ethan Bass, who quickly get embark on turn 1 as well. Dreyer's rear tyres are going to be pretty overheated now. Let's see what happens. Urenga down the inside. This is going to be a really close one. To get it slow motion to try and see what happens here. Dreyer just squeeze a bit too much. Did Urenga dive it a bit too deep under brakes? We know how strong he is under brakes. Urenga seems to make the apex there. Does Dreyer give enough room? It's close, but I think, to be fair to Urenga, he's given plenty of room for the Mercedes on the outside line there. I don't think you can put too much blame on him there, given that there seemed to be at least a car width on the outside line there.
I mean, for Urenga, he actually, for what seemed to be his trajectory, actually was to have a car's width on the outside line. He wasn't just intending to be, oh, it's my corner, you're not having any space on the outside, tough luck, mate. He did seem to actually try and give Dreyer some space. So it just seems to be one of those unfortunate things that happened. It was the slightest bit of contact, and yeah, unfortunately that sent Jonas Dreyer around, and he became the one that was worse off. But still ran quite well in P6, just not exactly where he would have wanted to be, especially at this stage of the race. But it does free Urenga onto the back of Sean Campbell as they clear the lapped Porsche now as they run through the very fast chicane, and Urenga still very much pushing the limits and trying to get himself back into P2 after an earlier spin. Is he close enough to his teammate to go for a send? He is certainly in the slipstream, but we've seen before how these guys can work so well together. They're not too usually interested in having a bit of a fight with each other, but is Urenga going to be forced to make a move? Is he interested in making a move? And the answer to that question is no. So at least for now, Urenga seems content just to sit back.
He does. But with the pit stops coming up, I do think that he may well wait for those now. That incident with Jonas Dreyer may well be in the back of his mind as well when he makes any future dives down the inside into turn 1, if he indeed does decide to do that. He's just found himself in front of Chris Chadson here. You can see him on your screen as Thomas Dandridge tries to make his way through on the Audi in the centre of picture at the moment. This is the battle for 7th place. Dreyer's going to get himself away from that, especially since his tyre temperatures will have calmed down. Well, have been going a bit bananas, but they're fine now, I think. Seems to be back on pace, or will be at the end of this lap anyway. He should be able to get away from the likes of Edison, Dandridge and Pearl as well. And behind these guys, Stuart Reynolds has made a stop, so has Thomas Cope, and they've both found themselves in front of Thomas Reiter, and by a good couple of seconds as well. I think that's really the results of Thomas Reiter finding himself in so much traffic immediately after that pit stop. It did not help him one bit.
Not at all. It hampered him so much. It could have worked out really well if he just came out a couple of seconds in front of that train of cars, but yeah, it's cost him quite dearly, 2 seconds actually to the back of Thomas Cope. But here is our AM race leader of Simon Dodd, who has done a remarkably good job to hang on to this race lead since sort of the beginning of this race. Hasn't looked back at all and has shown some really good pace and some really good consistency to sort of redeem himself from race 1. And 7 seconds back is the likes of Thomas Pugh. But yeah, fortunately for Dodd, Pugh has been under quite a bit of pressure from Dave Lamming and others in the AM category. So if he can keep up with this pace and get through the pit stop cycle cleanly, hit his marks, do all that sort of typically found easy stuff, yeah, he should be fine. But yeah, never say never with that one, because the likes of Lamming and Pugh, they're not exactly slow drivers, and yeah, will certainly, if they can smell blood, they'll certainly go and chase it. But at least for the time being, Dodd's done a pretty remarkable job.
He is. It's a nice job for the moment. I think the fact that Thomas Pugh and Didier Vlamenko are fighting so hard might be helping him out slightly, with no disrespect to Dodd, of course. It may just be helping him. By the way, that was Thomas Cope and Stuart Reynolds in the background fighting, and there they are. It's not quite as close as it may appear at first glance, as Sean Campbell has got quite a close battle going on right now, and gaining some all-important points as things stand. This would reduce the margin to just 17, but with one overtake here, Urenga could extend the championship margin on the road to 25 points. So there's a lot riding on this battle, and you get the feeling with so little rounds and so little races to go now, Campbell absolutely has to beat Urenga here, but looking at the pace of the championship leader, it's not looking too likely.
Yeah, he's so close to the rear end of his teammate Sean Campbell is Alex Urenga. He's practically pushing him through this sequence of corners, and yeah, really now starting to pile on the pressure, but yeah, still no way through. If he is intended on making a way through, probably going to do something different on strategy. But yeah, Alex Urenga, he knows he's got a bit of a gap in the championship. He knows he doesn't need to fight this one too hard, and of course, one of the golden rules of racing is don't crash into your teammate. That's a little bit out of order. So Alex Urenga is going to take sort of a bit of caution and try and do it an easy way as opposed to a hard way, and really fight, gloves off with them. And yeah, for now is just chilling really in P3. It doesn't really matter if he's finishes second or third. It's not that big of a difference, and certainly doesn't warrant the risk that could come with sending a move.
As Ethan Bass comes into the pit lane here, he's probably run out of fuel really in that car now. We're getting towards that point anyway. 32 minutes into this one. It could be strategic. We'll wait and find out, but still waiting for plenty of these drivers to come in. Felix Pearl also did, so we're still waiting for 7 of the 12 pro drivers to come in. We've already seen Stefan Schuster and David Camano from the front of AM anyway, coming in. Dominic Goodsell and Vladimir Halabai's also come into the pit lane, and towards earlier, although that was Halabai's second stop of the race. We've still got James Slates in the race after a 15-minute stop for damage. However, out of the race, Kurt Hau Jensen, Jarmo Sestermoinen and Timo McKeown. We've already lost 3 drivers, I'm afraid, from this race. And I have to say, that's not a big surprise, considering the start we saw in the AM category. It was quite chaotic. To have 3 drivers out the race is not a huge shock, really.
No, not at all. Not even a single bit, really. It was very, very manic. And yeah, it was very crazy, despite the fact that we did initially tip it to be quite a clean start for both races and for both categories. But the AMs, yeah, they really kicked off very quickly and found themselves in a fair few incidents quite early on. So yeah, no surprises there at all. But 16 and a half minutes left to go in this race. Not long left. And still waiting for a fair few pit stops left to find their way through. Alex Urenga looking to sell the dummy on his teammate, but yeah, not the wisest thing to do into this last chicane. But yeah, it seems to have all sort of calmed down just a little bit now. Those early incidents and things have maybe spread the field out just a little bit. So getting to that sort of stalemate point of where the field is spread out a little bit, and we're getting a fair, a couple of fights here and there, but for the most part it's pretty spread out, and people just trying to do their own thing really.
Yeah, they are really. Just over a quarter of an hour to go in this race. I think that is James Slates. I think we were just mentioning him, just getting out of the way. One of the Porsches, anyway, in the AM category. Just moving aside for these two to go through again. But Alex Urenga may well just be having his eye on the pit stop here and looking to try and jump him in that way. I don't think either of them are going to catch Albin Kjellberg at this point, because they do need nearly 2 seconds a lap at this point to be able to get there, which is not looking too likely for them. You never know, they may well just pull off a surprise. It would be a pretty big one, though at this stage it would have to take a mistake from the leader, you would have to say, at this point. Ethan Bass, by the way, did get out in front of Thomas Cope and Stuart Reynolds, who have really gained time out there doing the undercut. Thomas Reiter has still jumped Felix Pearl despite all of that traffic that he encountered. So it just show you what an undercut can get you. As Timothy Vanderbroek now is trying to make his way through the field. Now there have been some pit stops, so I don't think he's legitimately in 7th right now, but this is a good recovery from a driver who really does need points here wherever he can get them.
Very true, very true. Vanderbroek didn't have the ideal start in this race. Had a couple of spins and a couple of incidents, I think, with a number of drivers. So yeah, he's really recovered well up to P7, which is, admirable to just press on, especially in a short time frame that he's had. But Dean Thames is doing an equally good job up there in P4. 4, despite today not really being his day, but most notably Linden, of those in the championship hunt, he's now really stepping up as Sean Campbell comes into the pit lane, so Alex Urenga will get ahead as it stands. He's now got to use this free air to get the overcut, it must be said. Albin Kjellberg, though, he's pretty much been under no pressure since sort of 5-10 minutes into this race. He really hasn't looked back at all and is pretty comfortable to do pretty much whatever he sees fit with the strategy.
Yeah, it's pretty comfortable for him now, really. Stefan Schuster just moving aside for him as well now. The only concerns he really will have is those lap cars. At this stage, he's one of only 3 drivers to be able to continue to lap 20. Alex Urenga and Harry Wills being the other 2. They will have to make a stop, though. Where are these drivers going to come out? Well, Campbell's going to be the first out of those guys. So that was 17 seconds worth of a stop. Surely Urenga's going to be able to overtake him with that. It's a pretty short stop there from Dandridge. But Ethan Bass able to get out in front of the likes of Dreyer as well. So that's going to be a very exciting battle for 5th place with Ethan Bass, Thomas Cope, Stuart Reynolds, Jonas Dreyer, Thomas Dandridge. Simon Dodd won't be there. He'll have to pit from the AMS. But Thomas Reiter as well. Look at this. This is madness. And this is all in the battle for 5th. And I believe that Ethan Bass may well have his work cut out to defend from all of these drivers. Look at it. Very, very busy in the pros all of a sudden.
It is, and Ethan Bass, he's going to hold on to that 5th place, and he's going to defend it like crazy. He is not going to try and let anyone find a weakness in his defense. He's going to do his absolute best. He's done really well to put himself in a Ford GT in that position, despite usually doing really well towards the start and then dropping off as the lackluster pace of that Ford GT sort of drags him down. But no, he's really held on well, but he has got some very quick drivers on his tail, most notably Thomas Cope, who is now practically breathing down his neck as they head towards the Schumacher S. And if they start to fight very quickly, Ethan Bass is going to be under threat from the likes of Stuart Reynolds, Jonas Dreyer, Thomas Dandridge, and Thomas Reiter as well. So he's going to have his work cut out for him to keep those places, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see a pretty long train of cars fairly shortly if Ethan Bass can hang on.
Yep. It's, well, that's the big if, really. Thomas Cope has recovered really well, though, after his spin. I think it was at turn 11 earlier on in this race. He had a spin that dropped him all the way down to 12th and last in the pros. Now he is very much climbing the order and looking to get inside the top 5 here. Oh, and he's trying to go down the inside. Wow, a bit of connection as well. Having some issues side by side. Ethan Bass, I think, gave him a little bit of extra room because of that, and so Thomas Cope may well be able to have this one now, although Ethan Bass has the legs on the straight for now. The slipstream's going to help Thomas Cope, and he's going to be able to make his way down the inside now. Later on the brakes, Thomas Cope back inside the top 5, and there it is. It's been a very nice recovery from Thomas Cope, who completes his run to the top 5. That might well be it now for him.
Yeah, realistically, he's not going to make much progress. Well, definitely not 4 and a bit seconds progress on Sean Campbell. So I think the top 5 is pretty much it. I mean, of course, I think Harry Wills hasn't actually come into the pit lane as of yet either. So maybe that could be an extra place for Thomas Cope to be inside the top 4. But yeah, that is probably going to be his ceiling in this race. Ethan Bass, though, didn't put up too big of a fight, so could hang on for a little bit longer if he can stay in the slipstream of Cope. That could alleviate some of the pressure from Reynolds and Dreyer in behind. Kjellberg, our race leader, finally into the pit lane as well. Is Urenga and Wills going to follow him in? Because, yeah, these are some really, really long stints waiting to sort of the final 10 minutes of this race. Urenga and as well is Wills going to come in. Not entirely sure, but, yeah, they've really postponed these stops.
They've taken these cars a very, very long way indeed, actually. Somewhat surprisingly, 40 minutes into this race now, but either way, they finally have surrendered to the inevitable. Kjellberg putting on a little bit of fuel there, 8 seconds worth. It's not a lot. Alex Urenga, if he puts on anything less than Sean Campbell here, then he'll be out in front. In fact, it's 8 seconds less than Sean Campbell, so he'll be back in second. And Harry Wills might even overtake Campbell here if he's not too careful. Let's see how long the stop is for Harry Wills. And Sean Campbell's in again. Again here, it was slightly longer for Wills, but he will be up to third as a result of this. Sean Campbell, his way down the pit lane. It looks like a drive-through penalty, possibly. There's Harry Wills. He's out in third place. We could have an almighty fight for the final spot on the podium very soon, as Sean Campbell makes his way through, and he's into the box here. He's into the pit box. This is not a drive-through penalty for Sean Campbell. It's a legitimate pit stop, and he goes away again after 8 seconds. So goodness knows what the last 17-second pit stop was for, but that looked like it was for fuel, that one.
Maybe didn't fill up enough. I'm baffled at that, really, for Campbell. And that has completely ruined his race, coming in that late for the second time. That is suboptimal, to say the least. That's the definition, really, of suboptimal. That is going to sting for Sean Campbell, because he was driving well, seemed secure for a P3, but yeah, now has given that honour to R.A.W.S and Thomas Cope, and Ethan Bass now are going to try and fight for it as hard as they can. Final 9 minutes of this race, and it's really started to spice up. We had an interesting start, pretty, calm down middle, but now towards the end it's rocketed back up in the scale of intensity. So let's see if Thomas Cope can close that gap on R.A.W.S, or if Wills can hang on for another podium, because he did really well at Monza last time out. If memory stands me correctly, he was at least first or second, so this would be a nice string of results for R.A.W.S.
It will. 5 laps to go then. Albin Kjellberg comes over the line with just over 8 minutes, and this is where the battle may well be by the end of the race, because Simon Dodd is in the lead after all the pit stops have now been completed in AM as well. Dave Lamink is in the Porsche just in behind and bearing down on him. Ivo Linden even not that far away either, as Dean Timms is having a really good result here inside the top 5. It wasn't a very encouraging race one for him, and there would have been a few pretty worried about his result here, but he's having a strong second race, as Stuart Reynolds now is on the defensive from Jonas Dreyer, who's going to be desperate to climb back through the order where he will feel he belongs after the spin with contacts with Alex Urenga. Now having to do it the hard way on the road in this battle for 6th place. Seems like the pro cars have really got themselves that little bit closer, although they are a bit of an annoying 1 second distance between the lot of them at the moment. No real nose to tail battles just now. All,
but still it's there. It's sort of teasing on the edge of potential for those fights, and all it takes is one thing, and those gaps can very quickly close. But it seems going to be interesting for the top 5 at least in the pros, but again, they haven't got time on their side. They have to push now and try and close those gaps quickly, because yeah, as the clock winds down or ticks up towards 50 minutes in this race, it's going to be less and less opportunities with each ticking second and each corner that they negotiate their way through. So they've got to act quickly, and they've got to be confident in their stride when they do get up onto the back of their rival Thomas Cope, under a second to R.A.W.S as well. So it seems like that fight for the podium could be spicing itself up in Pro 2.
It could well do, as Alwin Kjellberg puts another lap on one of the AMs over the line, and it's the fastest lap of the race actually from him, 51.1. It's quite a bit quicker than everyone else actually, 9/10 quicker than Alex Urenga's best lap, which is a pretty big disparity between the two. Kjellberg just has to make sure he doesn't get a drive through for incident limit like he did in the first race. He didn't end up serving, of course, but he did end up losing the time that it would have cost. And it lost him a top 10, never mind the top 3 that he was going to get. We go back to back in the pack though. Stuart Reynolds on the defensive at the moment. Jonas Dreyer trying to find his way through. And Thomas Cope is applying that pressure to R.A.W.S at the moment as well. That's going to be a close battle between them. Sean Campbell, by the way, way out of it at this stage. I don't even know if he's in the top 10. He isn't. He's 12th place now. And that looks like where he's going to finish here in this one. So I suppose that's encouraging for R.A.W.S. I think Wills will just be hoping that Campbell hasn't gotten all his bad luck out the way in the EU Championship before the US Championship coming up later on. Campbell and Wills, of course, involved in a championship fight in that one. It's all good practice for the both of them, though. Looking forward to that US event, because they basically have a almost practice run, if you like.
Does help, and for R.A.W.S as well, who's going to be going into that US race with a ton of confidence if he can hang on to that P3. Not going to be the case for Sean Campbell though, because he's going to go into that with a bit of doubt, and hopefully for him not going to replicate that same mistake twice. But yeah, it should be very interesting to watch. So yeah, if you are tuning into the EU series and you do have a chance to catch up on the US, it is a very close, enthralling championship fight that certainly is going to go down to the wire, I'm sure. To the inside, I think Ethan Bass is under a bit of pressure, just a bit in front. Stuart Reynolds going to get himself up, still side by side between the two of them as they head in towards this final section of corners. Ethan Bass still keeping him honest on the inside. Stuart Reynolds gone the long way around though. Has he got the legs down the straight? Has Ethan Bass going to be able to hang on through the flat out king just before the end of the circuit? You can also see, I believe, that's Jonas Dreyer trying to pick his way through. To the inside goes Stuart Reynolds. Ethan Bass going to try his luck around the outside. Brilliant bit of racing, but he goes over the curb. Both off, and a big hit for the pair of them. Ethan Bass tried the hero move, but just got caught up on that inside curb and straight lined into the side of the Lamborghini.
Oh, that was so close to making it work between the two of them, but they both ended up off the roads, Reynolds and Bass, and they're still off there. Ethan Bass is having a picnic there. I don't know what's going on. I think he's trying to get going again now, but dear me, what a shame that is for the both of them, as side by side between Dandridge and Reiter now. This is Thomas Reiter trying to make his way through on arguably some cars he should have jumped in the undercut phase of this race. Looking up the inside into turn 4, he knows that that's a closing door and he doesn't want to have his nose in there when it does, so he backs out for now. But everybody gains 2 places. Stuart Reynolds and Ethan Bass both into the pit lane as well due to damage. It's such a shame, as Thomas Reiter back down the inside again. But yeah, what a shame it is. They were so close to pulling that one off, and it would have been absolutely spectacular. But in the end, it ended in tears, and that is such a shame.
Hero 0 really for Ethan Bass. He just went for it. He is just, you know, he sends move. He knows he's in places he shouldn't be with that Ford GT, so he just goes for it. He has a bit of a laugh with it and tries to hang on. And yeah, respect to him for nearly making it work. It was just the slight thing on the curb that unsettled the car and sent him straight into the side of Stuart Reynolds. But you know, it was worth a go, because as you say, if they pulled that off, it would have been pretty remarkable, to say the least. But yeah, unfortunately for them, it did end in blows. This is Albin Kjellberg, who, yeah, respect to him. He made the mistake in race 1 after leading, fell back to P3, and eventually got a penalty that fell him all the way back to the tail end. But yeah, he certainly didn't wait around in race 2. Got the race lead, and as we say, didn't really look back at all when it's just been on a pretty much dominant charge for this entire race, just by himself out in front. And for him, that's probably the best boring race he's going to have.
It is. It's never boring when you're winning, and I think Albin Kjellberg is finding that out first hand right now. Got a big lead over the rest. There's no doubt about that. Just for now, 14 seconds. He's not really slowing down either, despite the fact Alex Urenga set a new personal best and took a half a second out of him actually on that last lap. He's still not getting anywhere near Kjellberg's fastest lap of the race just yet. And Harry Wills, though, really fighting it out for the last spot on that podium. Let's see who's going to be victorious in that, because it is a strong fight. And it is a championship fight as well between those two. Thomas Cope, coming into this race, had 8 points over Harry Wills, and there's a 3-point swing in that fight. Sorry, a 2-point swing only in that fight. But either way, it would help Harry Wills if he'd just be able to hold on to this place. But Thomas Cope is going to want to find his way through as Kjellberg gets his way towards the line to go on to the final lap. Thomas Cope has got about a lap and a half or so, a lap and a third, to try and find his way through on Harry Wills, and you can be sure he's going to try and find everything. Or try everything to overtake, but it's going to be very difficult, because we know how difficult overtaking Mercedes is around this circuit.
Very true indeed. This is the fight between Dean Timms and Thomas Pugh. Dean Timms in 5th place, trying to make it P4, as Thomas Pugh managed to put a car in between. I think managed to get through relatively recently on the Mercedes, which is yet another car between Dean Timms and his championship rival of Ivo van der Linden, who is running 3rd in the AM category. You can see, I think Harry Wills has had an off, because he's tumbling down the order. He's had an off through the final chicane. Hopefully we can take another look at that one, because I'm sure maybe that's not going to be by himself. In fact, actually, it was completely by himself, looped it round, and well, Thomas Cope doesn't have to try too hard to get that move done on him this time around. He plummets down to P7, but now the fight is between Thomas Cope and Jonas Dreyer, who's looking to the inside of T1.
I reckon there might have been contact between those two, because Harry Wood's car looks like it's behaving so weirdly that there must have been contact, and we've seen a lot of... Or is it behaving weirdly, or am I just seeing things here? I could be seeing things, in all honesty. It's very possible.
I didn't even see Cope on the replay.
No, that's what I mean. I think there was a bit of something before going on there, Thomas Cope was already not in shot and already off up the road in third place. So I think there's a bit more to this story that we haven't seen just yet. As Chris Chatterton trying to make his way through. Now this could be it. So Thomas Cope is 1 mile behind at this stage. Now was our timing just playing tricks on us? I'm pretty sure it wasn't, because of the way I was looking at things personally. But anyway, I could have been tricked there. But either way, side by side between Chatterton and Wills, is way out in front is Albin Kjellberg. He has a huge lead over the rest, and it's going to be a very, very well-deserved win indeed. It hasn't really been a season to remember for Albin Kjellberg before this. However, he will at least take home a race victory here at the Nurburgring. Barely goes to the pit wall to celebrate, almost as if he knew that was going to happen all along. It's victory here for Kjellberg. Alex Urenga extends his championship lead quite dramatically here in this race with another second place. It's another first and second here today. Another 86 points added to his tally, and a big step forward to a championship which he may well clinch in 1 week's time, as Thomas Cope is going to go to the line and defending into the very final corner. Jonas Dreyer, after that spin with Alex Urenga, very nearly recovered back to the podium that he will feel he deserves. Thomas Cope just beats him out to that one, with Thomas Reiter ending up in the top 5. Harry Wills is going to have his hands full right to the end, side-to-side contact with Pearl. Chatterton's going to beat Wills. Is Pearl? It's going to be side-by-side to the line. Harry Wills is going to at least hold on to 8th, as Simon Dodd is going to have a very nervous final few moments here. Just 1 second between himself and DJ Vlamink.
Very, very close final moments in this race for Simon Dodd. He's going to be trying to hang on to what I believe will be his first race victory of the season. Just has to keep it nice and neat and tidy, but he's done a really, really good job this race, Ewan.
He has, and he's held on to the victory. He will be absolutely delighted about that, there's no doubt. DJ Vlamink misses out, but it's Simon Dodd who wins race 2 in the Nurburgring. For race 2. DJ Vlamink just misses out. Ivo Linden moves to within 20 points now of Dean Timms with that result. Thomas Pugh will hold off the championship leader for that 4th place by the looks of things. He does indeed, as side by side to line with Timothy Vanderbroek trying to make his way through on John Williams on the final lap. Not quite able to. Another Camano going to be the final driver across the line. But a great race 2. And a great couple of races here at the Nurburgring in this series. It will rumble on to North America for the final couple of rounds next week. It's Albin Kjellberg though who's won the race by a good 13 seconds ahead of Alex Urenga. Thomas Cope holds off a whole host of cars for 3rd, including Jonas Dreyer and Thomas Wright, who join him inside the top 5. Thomas Dandridge 6th ahead of Chris Chatterton, who overtook Harry Wills at the line. Sean Campbell ends up 9th, with Felix Pearl losing out actually due to a late race penalty. Stuart Reynolds and Ethan Bass will get points, but they did not finish after their incident at the final chicane. In the AM category, it was Simon Dodd who took his first victory of the season, and he'll be very glad about that. DJ Vlamink couldn't quite get there. Ivo Linden gets a podium with Thomas Pugh and championship leader Dean Timms rounding out the top 5. Stefan Schuster and John Williams took points off of Timothy Vanderbroek. David Camano was not far behind. Gus Franken ended up 1 lap down, and so did Dominic Goodsell. Valimir Halabai was 12th ahead of Jasper Schartz, and Victor Tomorrow, the final car, 1 lap down. James Slates will get points despite being 9 laps down. Kurt Hau Jensen, Timo McKeown and Jarmo Sastamoinen all retired from very, very early on. Let's speak to a couple of drivers then after this one, shall we? Starting with Simon Dodd, who wins here in AM. Simon, good to have you here. It's a nice victory here for you tonight in race 2. Just talk us through those final couple of laps as we saw DJ Vlamink really bearing down on you. Were you getting nervous maybe that he would catch and overtake you at the end there, or did you feel that you had it in the bag?
Up until the last 2 laps, I thought I had it in the bag, and then the last 2 laps, going towards the white flag lap, I thought, oh, he's getting a bit close, isn't he? Because I think he gained a second on that lap, and then through the white flag lap, I was like, okay, I should probably concentrate. I've been sort of just doing my thing, relaxing a little bit, and just bringing the car home, and then he got a bit close, and I was like, okay, let's concentrate and speed this thing up a bit more for that final lap, and yeah, thankfully kept it on the black stuff in the second race, because the first race was one I'd like to forget once again.
Yeah, first races haven't gone particularly well for you in recent weeks anyway. Here, I mean, we've got 2 rounds coming up, Sebring and Daytona. Your thoughts on those circuits? Are they ones you enjoy particularly? What are you expecting from those?
Daytona, yes, I enjoy it. Sebring, well, just historically for me, it's not been great. I don't know, there's something in my head that I don't like about it. But, you know, you never know. Things may change and I might have a good result. But, yeah, it's good to have a fault-free race, shall we say, for this second race. It's been a long time coming. I've been making far too many mistakes recently.
I mean, it's very good to see you on the top step once again here tonight. Congratulations, Simon, on victory here in race 2. And, yeah, thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to thank my teammates, Chris Charlton and John Williams, and then also Twiggy for the setups, and you guys for the broadcast, and the organisers of the league, and the sponsors and all of that lot, my mum, my dad, my dog, and everyone, you know.
Absolutely. Simon Dodge, victorious here at the Nurburgring, here in race 2, in that AM category here tonight. We have also got one more interview. Thomas Cope is waiting for us, so we'll bring him in. Thomas, good to have you here in the broadcast booth as well. Third place here in race 2 for you, recovering from an early spin to manage to get up into that podium. When you did end up going around very early on in that race, did you think that a result like this was possible?
I definitely didn't think a result like that was possible. Even up to that second to final lap, when I'd actually made a mistake into turn 8 behind Harry, which allowed Harry to get away before he made his mistake. And then even then, was still sweating having Jonas Dreyer behind me on that final lap.
It was a very nervy last lap indeed, and this whole season has been a really a difficult one, an interesting one certainly. You're third place in the standings at the moment. You haven't got much of an advantage over some of those just in behind, but is that kind of third place in the standings a target for you from here and in those final 2 rounds at Sebring and Daytona, of course?
Yeah, obviously a podium result in the whole championship is always anyone's goal. If I can get a P3 and pull that off at the end of the season, I'm going to be extremely happy.
Right, we look forward to seeing you again over the next 2 weeks, Thomas. Congratulations on the podium here in race 2, and we'll see you there.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. Thomas Cope, third place here in race 2 at the Nurburgring. That is just about going to do it, though, for the broadcast here tonight. And so, yeah, we'll have a quick look at the standings before we leave you here for this one. Sean Campbell does lose out a little bit, but this is the same as the before the race indeed. 21 points, the gap between them going into this one. Not entirely sure whether, well, it's obviously going to go in the favour of R.A.W.S, but how much, I couldn't tell you right now. There are the standings that are referencing with Thomas Cope as well. He's not got much of an advantage over those behind. That's just about going to do it for us tonight, though, here at the Nurburgring. Thanks very much for everybody who has watched here this evening. I've been Lionel Louis, Zach Sweeney has been alongside me, and David Christie has been on the cameras. And until we take that trip over the Atlantic towards Sebring and the North American leg of this season, this has been the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 Championship, and until we see you again in just 3 hours' time for the US Championship, it's goodbye for now.